Well, thousands of people with food intolerance have already benefited from the Foodscan 113 test. And let's hear from one of them. Now, as a GP, it's the part of the job I really enjoy, that is meeting patients. And this is Becky Irvin, and she took a York test recently. So, Becky, what symptoms did you have when you started to get concerned about,
Well, I've been suffering for about 10 years now. So initially it was IBS symptoms, so I would have diarrhea, bloating and fatigue mainly. But within the last couple of years that really started to get worse. If I was taking time off work, I couldn't go out for meals with friends because I just didn't know how I was going to react to what I was eating. And it was just tiring, it was really tiring.
What happened? Did you go to your doctor or?
Yeah, I've been going to the doctor initially from about the age of 18, and I was diagnosed with IBS. And I was then going back to the doctor quite regularly. I was going back at least 2 times a year initially. And then 2 years ago, when the symptoms really deteriorated, I was going sort of every month.
And how did you hear about the York test?
It was only about a year ago, when the symptoms really started to get bad, that I thought it might actually be a food intolerance that I have and not just IBS.
Yeah.
And so at that point I started researching the possibilities, how to get a test for food allergies.
Because you were tested for 113 foods, I believe, is that right?
Because my symptoms have been so severe, I was expecting that I was going to be allergic to pretty much all 113 foods. So when I saw the list, I was quite disappointed at first, thinking, well, there's only a few things on there. How could that have been making me feel so ill? As part of the York test, you get a consultation with a nutritionist. And so I started cutting out all of those foods. And then I spoke to the nutritionist, and she gave me some really good advice about other foods to avoid, because yeast in particular is a really difficult one. You know that it appears in bread and things, but I was still happily eating grapes and other types of fruit, and not realising that yeast can occur naturally on the skins of these fruits, so I was still getting some symptoms. After the first week, I started to feel less tired. The bloatedness didn't disappear automatically, but after the first week I definitely felt like I had more energy. And within the first month, the bloatedness had almost gone. I was losing weight. I was feeling much more energetic. I joined a theatre group. It just gave me more confidence. I was able to start going out with friends. I didn't realise how ill I'd been feeling until the symptoms disappeared. And so that's why the way I felt so much better afterwards. It just shows how worthwhile this test is. And I just really wish that I'd been aware of it much sooner, because the amount of money I've spent on prescriptions and things, and for painkillers, things to stop my gut spasming, and the money that I spent on the York test was well worth it.
Absolutely.
It's really changed my life.
Yeah. Now, having heard the positive comments from someone who has benefited, if you think this test could help you, call Yorktest on 0800 074 6185. That's 0800 074 6185, or visit their website yorktest.com. Remember, 3 out of 4 people get better. The test is a clinical test, and 90% of those who've used the York test recommend it to others.